Have you ever wondered what secrets lie hidden in old photographs? Those yellowed images tucked away in forgotten boxes, each a frozen moment of time whispering stories we've long since abandoned? What if a single faded image, one that survived decades of dust and darkness, could suddenly change everything you thought you knew about your life? Tonight, we journey into the twilight years of one of America's most beloved and distinguished actors, Morgan Freeman, whose resonant voice has narrated countless stories, but whose own tale held an unfinished chapter. At 80 years old, with a lifetime of accolades and a career most could only dream of, Morgan stumbled upon a photograph that would prove that sometimes the past isn't quite as finished with us as we might believe. In the quiet corners of his Mississippi home, fate waited patiently for half a century, proving that time is not always the enemy we think it is. This is a story that will make you question the choices that shaped your own life. A tale about love lost and spectacularly found, about the roads not taken that still might welcome our footsteps, and about how the final chapters of our lives may contain the most beautiful surprises of all. Pour yourself something warm, settle into your favorite chair, and join me as we discover why it's never, not ever, too late to rewrite your own ending. The attic of Morgan Freeman's Mississippi home was a place he rarely visited. At 80, climbing those steep stairs had become more of a chore than an adventure. But today was different. The leak in the roof had forced his hand, and as raindrops pitter-pattered above, Morgan carefully ascended to assess the damage. The musty air greeted him like an old friend as he pushed open the creaking door. Flashlight in hand, he navigated around forgotten furniture and boxes of memorabilia from a life well lived. Awards, scripts, and photographs from decades of filmmaking formed small mountains of memories. As he examined the ceiling for the source of the leak, his foot knocked against an unfamiliar wooden box tucked beneath an ancient armchair. Curious, he knelt down, his knees protesting the movement, and pulled it out. The brass clasp was tarnished but intact, and when he opened it, the scent of another era escaped. Inside lay photographs he hadn't seen in over 50 years. Black and white images of his younger self, his parents, old friends, and places long changed by time. But it was a particular photograph at the bottom of the pile that made his breath catch in his throat. A young woman with intelligent eyes and a gentle smile looked back at him. She wore a simple dress, her hair styled in the fashion of the early 1960s, standing beneath the blooming magnolia trees at Jackson State University. On the back, written in faded blue ink, "To Morgan with all my heart. Eleanor, spring 1963. Eleanor Washington. A name he hadn't allowed himself to think about for decades. They had met during a campus production of A Raisin in the Sun. Morgan was already dreaming of a career in acting, while Eleanor was studying literature with plans to become a teacher. Their connection was immediate and profound, a rare understanding that transcended words. For 2 years, they had been inseparable, planning a future together despite the challenges of the era. Until that summer day in 1965, when everything changed. A misunderstanding, heated words spoken in youth and pride, and the opportunity of a lifetime calling Morgan to New York. They had parted ways, neither willing to bend, both certain the other would eventually reach out. Neither ever did. Now, half a century later, Morgan sat on the dusty attic floor, the photograph trembling slightly in his weathered hands. What had become of Eleanor? The question burned in his mind with surprising intensity. Despite all his achievements, the Oscar, the iconic roles, the respect of millions, there remained this one unanswered question from his youth. 3 days later, Morgan sat nervously in his car outside a modest brick house in Atlanta. His childhood friend and college roommate, William, had been shocked to receive his call but didn't hesitate to help track down Eleanor. She never married, William had told him over the phone. Became one of the most beloved English professors at Spelman College. Retired about 15 years ago. Still sharp as a tack, according to my sister who keeps in touch with her. Morgan checked his reflection in the rearview mirror, smoothing his silver beard. Was this foolishness? Chasing ghosts from the past at his age? But something stronger than doubt propelled him forward, up the neatly kept walkway to the front door. When it opened, time seemed to fold in on itself. Eleanor stood before him, her face mapped with the same years that had marked his own, but her eyes, those intelligent, kind eyes, were unchanged. "Morgan Freeman," she said, her voice a mixture of disbelief and something warmer. "After all these years." "Eleanor," he replied, suddenly feeling like that young man of 24 again. "I found your photograph." She invited him in, to a home filled with books, African art, and photographs of smiling students. Over tea served in delicate cups, the decades between them began to dissolve. "I almost wrote to you," she confessed, "when I saw you in Street Smart. I was so proud to see you making your dreams come true. But I thought, what would be the point?" "I told myself the same thing," Morgan admitted, "that you had surely moved on, built a different life." "I did build a life," Eleanor said, gesturing to the photographs of her students, the shelves of books she had written. "A good one, but there was always a Morgan-shaped hole in it." They talked for hours about the lives they had lived, the paths they had chosen, the world they had watched change around them. They spoke of Martin Luther King Jr. and Barack Obama, of struggles overcome and dreams realized, of losses endured and joys discovered. As evening fell, they walked together in her garden, two figures moving slowly among the roses and hydrangeas. "Do you believe in second chances, Eleanor?" Morgan asked, his famous voice soft in the gathering dusk. "At our age," she replied with a gentle laugh, "I believe in seizing whatever chances come our way." In the months that followed, they rediscovered each other, no longer the passionate young lovers of the past, but companions who shared both history and possibility. They visited the places of their youth, now transformed by time, but still alive in their shared memories. They introduced each other to friends and family, bridging the separate lives they had built. One evening, as they sat on Eleanor's porch watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Morgan took her hand in his. "I've been thinking about regret," he said thoughtfully. "I've always told interviewers I live without it. But that wasn't entirely true. I regretted losing you, even if I wouldn't admit it to myself." Eleanor squeezed his hand. "Perhaps regret isn't always something to avoid. Sometimes it's just love persisting across time, waiting for us to recognize it again." A year to the day after finding the photograph, Morgan Freeman stood again in Eleanor's garden. This time, they were surrounded by their closest friends and family members. No elaborate ceremony, just two people who had found their way back to each other, promising to share whatever time remained to them. Eleanor wore a corsage of magnolia blossoms, a nod to that long-ago photograph. When Morgan saw her approach, her silver hair crowned with summer light, he felt the same catch in his breath he had experienced in that dusty attic. Some stories, it seemed, take a lifetime to unfold. Some photographs capture not just a moment, but a possibility that patiently waits for its time to become real. The old photograph now sits framed on their bedside table, a reminder that it's never too late to find your way home to where you're meant to be. The story of Morgan and Eleanor offers us some of life's most precious lessons. Though life may sometimes lead us in different directions, we should never underestimate the power of the connections we carry deep in our hearts. As we've seen in this story, decisions made and mistakes committed in youth can leave a void in our souls for decades. Yet what Morgan shows us is that even regrets can yield beautiful outcomes. No matter what stage of life we find ourselves in, whether 20, 50, or like Morgan and Eleanor, 80 years old, it is never too late to complete our unfinished stories, rebuild lost connections, and make new beginnings. Perhaps right now you too are looking at an old photograph, letter, or memento and wondering, what if? Remember Morgan's courage. That ancient wisdom tells us, our greatest regrets are the things we didn't do, not the things we did. Time flows on, my friends, and some opportunities may never knock on our door again. However, this story gives us hope. Life's surprises never end, and sometimes fate can wait for us. Whatever your age, listen to that small voice inside. Pursue that unfinished story. Who knows, perhaps for you too, under a magnolia tree, the second act of your life awaits. Because as Morgan and Eleanor discovered, love and second chances transcend time, and life is full of new possibilities until our very last breath. Dear friends, I hope Morgan and Eleanor's touching journey has warmed your hearts today. Their story reminds us that life's most beautiful chapters can begin at any age, even when we think the book is nearly finished. If you enjoyed this tale of rediscovered love and second chances, I would be deeply grateful if you'd consider subscribing to our channel. Each week, we bring you stories just like this one, authentic, heartfelt narratives that reflect the wisdom and beauty of life's golden years. Your subscription helps our community grow, allowing us to reach more listeners with these messages of hope and possibility. Please take a moment to leave a comment below sharing your thoughts, or perhaps a moment from your own life when a forgotten memory resurfaced in a meaningful way. Have you ever reconnected with someone important from your past? Do you have your own old photograph story? I read every comment personally and find such joy in our conversations. Until next time, remember that it's never too late for a new beginning. Thank you for listening.